Yeah. All right. Well, good morning or afternoon or evening for everyone. My name is Eric Walmerink. I work here at Decisions on the product management team. I'll go and introduce myself a little bit more detail in just a moment and talk a little bit about the lunch and learn, and we will dive right into some questions that have already been submitted. So yeah, the lunch and learn, in case this is your first time or you're new at this, what we do is every Monday through Thursday, we host a 1-hour call from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern time with a decisions expert, which is generous calling myself an expert, but I'll take it. And so we have someone on this call able to answer really any and all questions you have, either about the tool, about how to do something inside the tool, about the future of decisions, about how to set up projects, whatever it is. It's really just a free hour of an open Q&A with us. And we have a number of our team members on the call. So yes, if you're interested, you can join any day, Monday through Thursday that we host it. Please let your teams know, let other coworkers know, whatever it is. We're happy to be here to answer your questions. So like I said, my name is Eric Walmerink. I've been with the company about 8 years now. Done pretty much every department that you could think of, except possibly sales. But I've done big professional services projects. I've done tiny implementations. I led our training team for about 4 years. I've done, I actually wrote code way back in the day when I first got hired. So I have quite a bit of experience. So please feel free to ask me anything. And again, if we can't answer it on this call, we will absolutely follow up with the right experts and the right answers to make sure we get those answered. So that is kind of the scope of what the plan is. And yeah, without further ado, what we ask of you is if you have questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat or use the raise hand feature on the attendees panel. And we can go ahead and start answering any questions that you have that way as well. So feel free to start typing, start thinking through what you want me to show or what you want to ask me questions wise. Again, as my current role as product manager, I lead all of the kind of direct all the product roadmap and own that. So if you have questions on what we're doing in the future or what decisions is planning to do over the next 18 months, I'm happy to dive into the roadmap a little bit as well. So without further ado, oops, I closed the wrong panel. We did have a couple pre-submitted questions, so I'm going to actually start with one of those unless someone else wants to raise their hand and dive in. But the first question came in, was pre-submitted over email, and it says, we want to have an example of a label on a form. So I'd like to do a text merge on a label for a form with an example that says, good morning, evening, whatever. My name is this name. I am this job title. I'm calling from, this company, and we're working with whatever. So basically we want to have a dynamic label present on a form for a user. So when a user opens up a form, it should be filled with data that is merged with relative data from them. So we have a couple options here, and I'm going to dive into one way to do this that I think would answer or solve this problem.
And Eric, I did figure out how to do it from Kirsten on the Slack channel, but I'm interested to see how you did it. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. But I do have a second question that I'll submit in the chat too. So
cool. Yeah, go ahead and type that in the chat. I'll show for the benefit of the call how I would do it. And yeah, you're right. It should be relatively simple. So let's do it really quick. I'm just going to create a form. This is going to be like an intro, or I guess we'll have a call welcome form. We initiate a phone call, and this is the first thing you see. We have a button that says next. We maybe have a text box that fills out the person's name with a label on it. But maybe this top section here, we just want text. We want a label, and I'll extend it to make it a little bit bigger, fill kind of all this top section. And we need this to be dynamically sourced text, right? So labels can be static in the sense that I can actually just type in what the text is here, like, hello, my name is Eric. And then that will always show that text on the form. The problem with that, or what the question is Eric needs to change. If Eric is running the form, I need it to say Eric, but if Joe's running the form, it needs to say Joe, et cetera, et cetera. So the easiest way I believe to do this is there's two ways, but the first is you say text from data name. And suddenly you're going to see square brackets around the text. And all that's going to do is now when you run this form in a workflow, it's going to ask for you to provide the text for this label. So I will call this, header label text. That's the name of the data that I'm going to pass into this form for this form to start using. And that's, step one. Now, all I've done is I've said, okay, I have a label on the top of my form. It fills the space. And what the text is going to be is coming from some piece of data. Now, when we have a flow, and I'm going to call this, call initiate flow. The first step of my process is show my form. I'm going to go pick an existing form. I'm going to pick from my recent lists. Here's the one I just created called call welcome form. And we'll notice that it has two input variables. It has the name, which is that text box I put in there. And then it has your header label text. This is input data from your flow. So we're going to ignore the name field because that's something I expect the form to fill out and send back. For the header label text, however, we could use a mapping type here called merge plain text or merge HTML text. And I'm just going to merge some plain text. And this is going to be where you set up that configuration for, I want this thing to be dynamically sourced, but I want to merge more than one piece of text, either text that the workflow knows about or text that I'm going to type in manually. And once you do that, you'll see the bottom right here, there's this show editor. If you're on a different version of Decisions, by the way, I'm demonstrating everything on version 8. If you want to, it should be very similar for the previous versions, but we click show editor here and you're going to get this merge text editor, which allows you to type in things like, hello, my name is, and then populate it with also data that the workflow knows about. Now, since this is the first step in my flow, I don't have a ton of data here. But I do have things like the current account. So I can grab the current user email or maybe the current user full name. I'm going to grab email because I'm logged in as admin. I actually have it set up full name. But you can say like basically any data that the workflow knows about, you can fill here and you'll see this gray box with the lines pop around it and do those sorts of things. And then I can say like I am calling from, and then maybe I have my location. I think location is something we can pull from the account information, or I'm calling at the start time of the flow. Maybe you're leaving a message for someone. Regardless, hopefully you get the idea. Is I can start combining text that I'm typing in with data that the workflow knows about. So as Dave's original question said, could I put in the Staff.FirstName and Staff.Job Title? Yeah, if we had staff available, either we fetched it from the beginning or it's handed into this flow, absolutely. And then whoever's running this flow is going to get that dynamic label. I say debug. I click start running the flow and it'll say, hello, my name is admin@decisions.com. I'm calling at 9:09 a.m. because I'm on the west coast of the US. So for me, it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
And what I took a little bit of an more alternate route only because we are sourcing that information from an external entity, so an external SQL database.
Yeah.
And so perfect. I actually created a text name and then referenced that text name, and that worked as well. So
yeah,
just for
absolutely.
anybody that has that specific use case, because a lot of times we may be doing this through Active Directory or somebody who's not in Decisions, and this is just being sourced into like another program through an iframe, and so perfect. We wouldn't have any visibility to their job title, et cetera. So
gotcha. Yeah, totally. So you could just hand in the input data here or like fetch it from this front section from a database, whatever it is. You can even create the text merge ahead of time and then pass it into the form. Absolutely. So yeah, great note to there as well. The only other way I would consider doing this or just mention as another way to do it is if you're familiar with active form flows, excuse me, and all an active form flow is you can have a flow running in the background of any form. And what triggers that flow can really be anything. It could be loading the form. It could be an interaction on the form, like clicking a button or entering a text box or interacting with any control. And it will actually go run an active form flow and return data back to your form. So another way we could do this is we could say that this text box is actually sourced from an active form flow. And then when the form loads, and I can show a little bit about this, you go create the flow or pick the flow of what it is. You can specify what the triggers are, like entering the text box, exiting the text box, or like run at startup when the form loads. And this can return data. So I'll do a really rudimentary example of this. And we're just going to return, like a piece of text that I'm going to call text. And obviously here again, you would fetch it from the database, you would go do your text merge, you do whatever. I'm just going to put some static text for now. But the way you set this up is now that this returns data, I can see, once I give this a name, we'll call this show label. run at startup, or maybe we don't run at startup. Maybe I'll show you that we can do it whenever you, the value changes of your text box. And say, okay, now this is going to output a piece of data where if I want to take this to another label, we'll just put one below. I can say get from data name, and I should see, why don't I see it? Hold on, let me go check my flow really quick. Uh-oh, I may have broken it. Hold on, so I have my flow, here's my rule flow, my flow go, oh, foremost, that should be fine. Should be sending out my text data. Something is unhappy. It's not recognizing that I have output data here. Well, I'm not sure what's going on locally. I'll have to fix that. But what I should see here is pick from data. And so the idea is I have a flow, it runs at the background. I then can choose output data to source into like a label if I click text from data name again. I'm going to try to close and reopen this and see if that maybe refreshes my issue. And it does not. Okay, so I must have done something else wrong. Active form, yeah, that should be it. Bummer. Interesting. I'll play with this later, try to get this to work, but that's the idea. So the two ways I would consider doing this is one, you can source the data into the form from the onset. So when you call this form, it's going to require that text to be dynamically handed in, or on the form itself, you can go run a process that creates the text and sources it back in. There's really no right answer there. It's just where is the burden of that work going to lie? Is it going to be sourced in or et cetera? So cool. Aside from that not working, I hope that answers the question. So I'm gonna take your next question just because you were already asking it, Dave. But let's go ahead and see the next one. So your next question is, you're seeing some wonkiness with images on forms. You only use SVG files. So you upload those to the server in the custom images folder. Okay, that part works fine, but sometimes even refuses to scale properly or just goes way too large if you select fit to image. Interesting.
It's very yeah. So we only deal with vector, like we don't put up crappy blurry PNGs and stuff like that. So we start with our most pure source. And I get that the little the modal that pops up shows you you can actually size it as you pick it, like it defaults to 100 by 100.
Yep.
But it's just like I'll like on a form, I just want to have a header like that just has like our company logo, and I'll put it on there and I'll say make it 400 by 400, whatever, and it'll just go, nah, I'm just going to stay this tiny size. I'm like, okay, fit to the frame or whatever that option is. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's 1200 pixels and it is scrolling inside the actual image entity object. And I'm like, okay, but I've seen it work. And so I don't know, am I doing something wrong? Like,
do you mind me asking what version you're on?
8.1.
You are on 8.1. Interesting. Okay.
So I know that might be, but I saw this on 7, on the latest, on the last version of 7 before we upgraded. So.
All right, let's do it. I need a sample SVG file. Sure, that looks like a fun car. I don't want to just download random things, do I? This could be really bad. No one tell my boss.
It's Google. It's probably
Google,
safe,
right? Google's fine. If I save this image, is that going to save it? No, it's going to save it as a JPEG. Okay.
If it came from Google, it's got to be safe.
Oh, you guys are testing my.
I like svgrepo.com.
SVG should be fine. All right, 410, perfect.
There you go.
Let's can I just download, please? Save as SVG. Perfect. Okay, so I'm saving to my desktop. I don't know if you guys can see it. You see, oh, it failed download. Bummer. I'm not sharing my whole screen, so that may be why. There we go. Okay, so I have an SVG on my desktop now of this. I'm going to take that, and again, you may not see this portion of it, so that's okay because I'm not sharing my file system. I'm going to grab 410.sgg and I'm going to put it into the images folder under. Let's create a new folder here. Yes, we're going to call this ECW. Cool, and I drag 410 into there. Continue. Cool. I believe that's. I haven't actually uploaded SVGs in a long time. Is that all I have to do? I believe so.
You could do that in there. I always just go in through there.
Yeah,
you could do it through the file system, but
Yeah, it looks like I might have to restart to see it. don't see
I
my
always just
file.
put it in custom images.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. That makes more sense. Let's grab wherever that went. Where'd you go? How come I don't see you? Oh, because I moved it into the decisions directory. Duh.
We do have an article on uploading custom images as well on
Yeah.
our document site.
Perfect. It's maybe like the guy who does the product roadmap should understand that. Okay. There it is. Custom SVG.
So there it is. Yep. Looks great. It's crisp. It's not blurry, yada, yada.
Cool. Let's go to our call welcome flow and form. And let's shrink our text and let's put it over here. So you go to images. There should be custom images, right?
Okay. So I have not done that route. I have
okay.
only done the actual, just like the image object up at the top in the toolbox, but shouldn't make a difference, right?
Nope. Yep. We should recreate this the way you do it though. Right. We're going to say
static image. Yeah.
We're going to pick from custom images. There. Cool. So.
Oh, see, it does not do that for me.
Static
it does
image.
not. It does not grow with it like that. So I wonder if.
Okay. So you click here and you go to size to image.
I had to do a size to image. Yeah. And that. Yeah, that acts a little wonky too. But okay, maybe it's just my image files.
Yeah, but mine. So if I do size to image, it's not growing. But if I do that, it's not actually growing, is it?
It's not actually growing, and it's scalable vector, so it should, blow up the size of Texas if you want it to.
Absolutely. So if I set this, and you're saying if you set this to, that doesn't do anything.
No.
Okay.
So maybe we have a bug. Like we've been squashing version 8 bugs.
Now, notice that. Did you notice the PNG?
Oh, I did not notice that.
Oh,
That was a good catch. I didn't even see that.
That's odd. You know what? No. So you know what I've noticed in the server is in the directory store, it stores. So if I go create 12 versions of that, like 400 pixel, 200 pixel, it saves a corresponding 200 by 200 PNG, 400 by 400 PNG. Whatever you put on a form, I guess it's converting in real time. Yeah, it won't allow you to.
Valid extension.
Yeah, you can only do PNG and JPEG on the actual form itself.
Got it. So even if it thinks it's an SVG,
You should be able to upload an SVG from the systems folder.
yeah. See how that
you can't. Yeah, see that. So I wonder if it's not like.
But does that say PNG? It does. Interesting.
It does, yeah. I think it just converts it to a PNG and.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. Okay. Well, either way, that does feel like a bug. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll play with it for a little bit more. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing some step. But yeah, no, I looked at that document. That is great documentation. It just wasn't acting as expected. So.
Well, so now it's scaling.
Oh, there you go.
No,
okay, so
no, I mean that's still a PNG, and as you're playing with the size, I was noticing the size extensions were changing
there you go.
with it.
Yep.
So it does some auto conversion,
and then in your Windows directory, there will be a PNG for every size that you just made it. So you might have like 6 or 7 of them in there.
Do we clean that up?
Yeah. Watch what happens when you zoom. Watch how the thing changes.
Yeah.
There you go.
I see. Okay, so I'm wondering, like, if we do this really small. Yep, that's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
So when
I've done that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've done that. But it's just it doesn't really respond to it. So maybe it's just I'll just try some other SVGs and see if it's not like SVGs can be picky.
Yeah.
But if I do a PNG, it just turns out blurry from the get-go. So
yeah,
I just
try setting that zoom to max. It looks like and this is just a guess. It looks like what it does is it takes the max resolution here, so 900 by 900, and it won't go bigger than that.
Right.
So like if I set this to smaller, like 9 by 9, it won't go bigger than 9 by 9. But it will grow if I'm under 9 by 9 and go up to 9 by 9. So that may help as well as if you first set this to max. But I still think we should do something better there with PNGs. So I'll go talk to the product team because that's still a little wonky.
Or allow SVG uploads from there. That would be a lot. It just I mean everything should just be SVG at this point. Like we're moving all of our, or we have moved all of our front end to React. So I don't think that should be an issue anymore. Nice.
It was on when we were on the old MVC portal.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amber. I see Amber posting articles. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Cool. Good question though. Now I got to go play with SVGs. And now I have a giant 410 stop sign on my forms, which is, great. Cool. All right. I only see one other question, so I'm just going to keep churning through here. This is another pre-submitted question from you, Chris. It says,
Hey.
How's it going, sir? All right, good. I'll ask you because I want to make sure I understand the question correctly when I read this before the call. Can we create a data repeater control in 6 that is one line, but with twist, so that the user could open the line into a bigger display with many details? So what I'm guessing, I don't know if I can draw this on my screen somehow. I can annotate on my screen. All right, let's do this. So what I'm guessing is like I need my mouse. There we go. I run my flow and I have this form. And so we're talking about, I do not like that slide out dialog. Sorry. Let's do it in the pop-up. So I have this form. It's hideous and has all this stuff on here. And what the request is like we have a repeater control here. Like there's text box 1, text box 2, text box 3. And then you want a way to like icon this or something to either extend this out and have more properties, or maybe like a pop-up dialog.
Well, the first version.
First version? Okay. First version's harder. I don't think, well, actually with visibility, this might work. Let's see, this is the only question, right? Let's play. I'm gonna try. Maybe is the short answer. And so the second option that I said is much easier. You can put a sub dialog button or icon on a data repeater and have that pop up a new dialog, which then could be all of your details. So the way it would
trivial.
look, yeah, it would look like almost my screen. You'd have this as your repeater in the back. You click the icon, it pops up the new window that has all the stuff. But if you wanted to like slide out, let's try something. We're gonna get fancy. Data repeater.
So the thinking would be that I could open, the hope would be that I could have 2 of them open, the rest of them closed, so I could compare 2 on details.
Yep.
And then,
like
kind of do a side-by-side practice, even though it'll be above and below kind of a situation.
Yeah, but you want like a collapsible repeater, basically. Huh.
That's what I'm after, a collapsible repeater.
Collapsible. Is that how you spell it? Collapsible? Sybil? Whatever.
Looks good to me.
I'm not judged on spelling, so all right, we're gonna try, and again, I'm kind of going rogue here, so I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, you only got, okay, so you got 34 row.
Yeah, but I'm gonna do a vertical stack here. So we're gonna change, actually I'm gonna just change the root control to a vertical stack. Can I do that here? Yeah, root control, vertical stack. Okay, so now I have a vertical stack. Then I can throw maybe 2 sections on here. Throw 2 grids on here. Grid 1, and then hold on. And below that, grid 2. Grid 1 will be our single line. So this is just a 1 row, 1 column grid. Done. Let's set the size of this to be small. Let's set this to be 30. Okay, good. So that's this is a grid that's on 1 row. And we're just gonna put like a button on here just for the sake of simplicity. Let's put an event button. Okay. We're gonna call this as test button. So now when I click that button, I want to show another, like a section down below, and I want to hide it when it's not there. So let's just put a text box and call this TB1. Add a label. Oh, I didn't add the label. That's fine. TB1, and then we'll add text box TB2. Oh, because it's a data repeater, I need a defined set of data. Let's just pick account. Account's easy. Count is a complex type that just exists in the system. So now I can say we'll throw the account ID here and whatever here. This context doesn't matter. We're just trying to get the behavior. We'll pick their created on date. Don't care. You're mad that that's date. Fine. Email address. Cool. All right. Shrink this up a little bit. Let's select the parent and shrink this down a little bit. Let's do 30, 31 stars. Is that going to break my? No, it's going to keep it. Cool. Oh, sorry, this is all the setup work as I think through this problem. I don't want the height to be 200. Let's just set it to 65. little buffer in the bottom. Cool. And then the height of this is what's that? 30 plus 95. Let's just call it 100. All right, right. Right. Why are you not setting it to 100? Okay, fine. So the idea being is if I click test or by some interaction or a drop down button, whatever it is, I want to show this. Otherwise, I want it to go smaller. So the behavior of our vertical stack should be expand children, then scroll, I think, maybe fit children. We'll see. We might have to play that a little bit. But I have this repeater, right? Now I need some sort of logic here that says when I click the button, hide and show all these things. So now we can try, as long as I don't break it, an active form flow to do this. So we're going to create an active form flow. This is going to be hide bottom. And we're just going to say on event click, beep. We're going to hide that whole bottom section. So we save this and I need to go to data. No. Where's the form stuff? Form rules. There we go. And we want to hide the entire control. The control we're going to hide is that whole grid, which I need to go give a name. Sorry, back up. Okay, are you going to yell at me? Yeah, I know. Sorry, you guys are stupid forms being invalid. All right, we're going to just pretend to hide something else. Cool. So that you can be valid. So I can close the dialog. So I can go back into here.
User must not make error.
All right, grid layout 1. We'll call this hide me grid. Cool. I also like how my format's all weird in the two text boxes. Okay, hide bottom, edit my flow. This runs. We need to do some logic. I guess it's on button click. We're going to hide it. So that should be fine. And the thing we're going to hide is coming from form data, hide me grid. Cool. All right. I don't think preview will work here because it's a repeater, but that's the idea. If I didn't do anything horribly wrong, clicking that should show this and clicking it again should hide it. Actually, clicking it once should hide it. Oh,
I think you kind of
wrong.
got this backwards.
Yeah.
And what I actually want to do is because I want to have like the lines just be like a one-line summary, like, you know, like maybe email address, and then you could like click that thing and then the other details would appear.
Yeah, that's. I think it works. I just have it a button click, but you could have it on like field enter, right?
Well, I mean, so so your button there, I think what I would do is have it be not just a button, but have a couple of fields there, basically to be like the title. You know, this is, you know, like I have my email address up there. I wouldn't necessarily give it a label, just have the email address. And then when you click this button, then, you know, things like, I don't know, like your ID would appear and your whatever else we might have, like maybe your department would appear.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like I make this, you know, display list that's sort of like, you know, everybody's name, just a name, but then I can click this little piece of it and that one will expand to show me details.
To show you the things that are inside of there. Okay, I still think, I think my design, I think I had the context wrong, but I think the design still solves that. Right, like, so all you should see is this button, or I guess it could be like a label, whatever, in your repeater. And then when you click this, it should pop open the details below it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's try this still. I think I'm on the right track. I have no idea if this is gonna work, which is, I'm really confidence building for this call, right?
Yeah, how long have you been here in this company?
Sorry. 6 months. I just got hired.
Ah, okay.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, all right, but this logic actually doesn't work, right? Because you click it, it's going to hide it. We need to show it and have some logic that says if hidden show. How do we get if it's hidden? I think that's on the properties. So we can do a true false rule. So if the form data grid layout visible is true, then we hide it. And if it's not true, then we show it. Now I think my logic works.
Yeah, because then I can toggle whether it's open or closed.
Exactly. By clicking that top part, you essentially are saying whether it's open or closed. All right, so we're gonna We're gonna take a quick pause and see if just that logic works before then I throw it into a repeater. I guess that is the test. Never mind. So I need a form that has, let's create a new one. Regular form that says has my repeater. This, we're going to put our control data repeater down below. The source is going to be collapsible repeater. Good. This is going to be list of accounts. Good. So we need to hand like 2 accounts into here. And again, I guess the name is off. And then we need a button to just exit. Let's remove some of these extra rows. How does that look? Oh, I deleted the repeater. There we go. Back. All right. Looks a little wonky there. So let's see what practice looks like and what we can fix. All accounts, I need to give it at least 2. So let's just set admin. I only have 1. Let's just set 2 admin accounts. That's fine. We're not going to have one selected. Go. Ah, okay. So build the whole thing. Not really what I wanted. And then my flow didn't actually, it's visible, so hide. So the second time I ran this, it thought, okay, well, not quite there. So 2 things there. So this is on a grid. That should be fine. So let's try. I won't spend too much time on this. I don't think there's any other questions yet. But if people have other questions, I can take this offline because I'm kind of playing a little bit. So first, we want to initially make this invisible. And then we want to, what else did I want to do? Oh, I wanted to change the layout, the height. So I wanted the size to be 65. Yeah, that should be fine. Oh, but I see, but it's filling the whole size. Okay, okay. Maybe expand children then scroll. I don't know. All right. So this is how I would start to approach it. Okay, so that one clicked. It is the value true? Is it hidden? Maybe I just have the logic backwards there. Let's go change that.
Yeah, so what's the input to your true false?
Yeah, that's what I gotta go look at. It's saying if grid layout. Oh, I have the wrong grid layout. I need hide me grid. But let's double check. So if the hide me grid is visible, true, then hide it. If it's not visible, false, then show it on button click. Okay. Either way, it's still I already noticed that it's not quite what we wanted. Close though, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so how do we?
Because the goal here would be to have the, because as it is, it's just sort of like, almost like a door cover reveal, as opposed to letting me collapse and use space efficiently.
Yep. That's where I think I think there might be a way to do it somehow here. Let me just scroll. But I'm not good enough at these things. So, okay, maybe try it this way. Like there might be a way to do it here. And again, I would just be playing. So the minimum size is 35. The maximum size would be like that 100, right? Max height should be greater than height. Oh. Yeah, maybe. Oh, you're not respecting my 100. And that's the problem. All right. Well, this is probably as far as I can get without just utterly playing it too far for the rest of the time. But maybe It's not easy, and I think that's probably one thing that we're recognizing here. We are working on, for the form designer, this is part of the product roadmap, to have better collapsible sections. That's actually going to be a layout control. So you'll actually be able to come into here, and one of these will be collapsible section. And you can put that on a data repeater. It's just not implemented yet. So let's see if this does anything by changing those settings. But like I said, there might be a way to trick it a little bit. Better. Okay, so my button's being respected, but I need this whole repeater.
So
Like,
the problem
you want
is
this to slide up, right?
Yeah, it's almost like you want the whole repeater itself to change its height. And that's what I don't think is happening.
You are right. Okay. Yeah, I would want to
Now, does that,
dynamically change this.
yeah, I think that's kind of what it's, you have designer height of 100, but then for some reason at runtime, it decides to expand to, or you actually want that to be 35, but then at runtime, you want it to expand to 100.
Yeah, like I wanted this until you click it. But I don't, maybe that, I don't know.
My hunch is you're going to end up with a scroll bar.
Yeah, it's, which you don't want.
Does the parent form, does that have, that hosts the data repeater, is that in a vertical stack?
No, but I don't think that matters. Like, this is a grid. And the reason I don't think it matters is because this is the height that's limiting. I need this height to change on here. So the other option.
So the root has to be something that can flex.
That can resize, like a responsive grid. Which is interesting. Hold on. That is interesting. Okay. Let's, what if we do that? Nope. That's what I want. Now we're getting somewhere. So this is still in a vertical stack. So select parent grid. Let's grab that guy. That's the button. Okay. Okay, well, now I'm just breaking things. Let's not do that. Let's do it this way. Let's take this. Let's throw that onto a responsive grid. Responsive grids I'm just not good at. I know the idea behind them. The idea, no, see, I want to grab the whole responsive grid. Undo. Okay. It's like parent grid. Yeah, like I want to move this whole grid down and I can't grab it. There we go. So now in my responsive grid section, we'd have a grid there. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we want. And this can come out. Okay, so there's the hide me grid. We don't need grid layout 2. I need this parent grid to come down, which I cannot grab because the button's filling the whole thing. Okay, fine. I'll just do this. Then for the sections, we say the grid layout 2 takes the full width. The minimum width is 2. The height is 35. And then we actually want that section up. Okay. Okay. The max size of, no, not quite, right? Not quite. Again, this is just my limited knowledge and use of like these types of things. I would get rid of that vertical stack now. Oh, I've bunkered it again. All right, I'm gonna just pause here, see if there's other questions. In short, it doesn't look easy to do, right?
But since you're talking about the roadmap now and then, is any OAuth improvements on the roadmap.
Yes, it is actually. What are you trying to do?
One of the things that kind of gets discussion now and then is, wouldn't it be nice if the user, if I could manage if I can manage the roles over in an OAuth system and then have decisions respect those things, as opposed to the current method of you have a group, you have accounts are in a groups, and then groups are assigned to folders. It's almost like, well, could I be able to authorize access to a folder based on an OAuth role or an OAuth managed role?
So we sync the OAuth data to the group and user like data type, right? And so we pull in most of that OAuth data and we can use that. But you want to just like call directly back to OAuth to get that authorization, or like you don't want to save it locally on the account object? Is that the question? Sorry, just trying to understand.
I'm my understanding of what the I guess my understanding of OAuth is just sort of only partial. I know enough to be dangerous.
Hey, me too.
But what I am seeing is that so an architect has sort of chided that he would like to see that roles that are managed in OAuth are all that is needed to then manage what the user is allowed to do in decisions.
Okay.
And what I think is I think the way decisions, I mean, the way it works now is that it's actually synchronizing with Active Directory to figure out for these groups, who are my users? And then we assign those groups to folders, right?
Correct.
And so at the end of the day, the only thing that Active Directory is actually doing is just checking, is this user, is this logged in person, which user are they? Oh, it's this user. Okay, well now I know based on the rest of what I have synchronized into the accounts and groups area, what you're allowed to do. And I think the intent is that an OAuth payload can carry with it a list of roles. And I know that often gets discussion of, well, that should be all you need to sort out what's allowed, as opposed to keeping those groups locally, keeping those group assignments locally, I think is what I've bumped into.
Okay. So somehow we still need a local mapping. Like we need to know what role maps to what folders, right?
I think that much is fair, yes.
Yeah, so like we do it by group membership. But yeah, somehow we need to say that this role payload ties to this thing, which has these set permissions on these folders. So you said Active Directory? Okay, for other single sign-on providers, we have flows that you can run that grab really any data pair from the like single sign-on payload, the OAuth payload, and say do whatever. So you actually have a login flow. So when the user logs in, we can grab their single sign-on payload and your payload, in your case, roles, and then have a flow that manages their group membership, which then in turn inherits their permissions. I don't know on the roadmap if there is any plans to do that for Active Directory. So I will take that as a takeaway. Let me go ask. But the way I imagine it, and again, I'm just kind of brainstorming here, is that user tries to log in, it's Active Directory. They log them in, a flow runs that says, what roles are they in? These 6 roles, are they in those group memberships? Yes or no? Either add them or remove them or do whatever, and then let them log in. And that way it's all managed. Like you just add them to a role in Active Directory, and without running a sync job or managing folders on decision side, it just maps it. Because that's how we solve it for like Okta and OpenID and those sorts of things, because they have unstructured data. So you actually have to write a flow that pulls in like the data name pairs and maps them appropriately. But you just write a quick flow that does it. And then on every login, it runs that flow to check their memberships.
Curious.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Interesting.
Are you using actual, like the actual Active Directory role member, right? Like that's an actual field on there, if I remember correctly.
I don't know that we do.
Okay. Or is it like custom field?
You know, that's also one of those pieces of the puzzle. I'm not entirely sure where that's going. So it was more of asking if you guys had looked at trying to extend OAuth in some ways that might match up with what my architect likes to talk about, but
Cool.
Well,
in short, maybe because
maybe.
of the way we do the single sign-on stuff, I don't think it's a stretch to add that to the Active Directory sync stuff. So here, let me follow up with you after this call. I'm gonna talk to Janesh, our chief architect, and I'll reach out to you.
I have a more pressing problem though with OAuth.
Oh, cool. Let's do it.
So this one I know very, very well. In terms of the abstract, hey, you know, you should only need the roles and that's it, you know, is what my architect likes to say to me. And I'm like, oh, really?
Right.
I have this rather tactical problem where we now have, so back in decision 6, we have the OAuth provider, we have the OAuth token, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our OAuth provider returns a message, returns a token, and inside the token, one of the things it will include is an expiration time value.
Mm-hmm.
And the expiration time value we get back is 1 hour.
Okay.
In decision 6, the good news is that gets recorded into the token, so you can actually see that that's there. The bad news is the token expires, and sorry about your luck, you know, your token doesn't work anymore. And the only way that I can connect my REST call to say, oh, and use this token as you go, is to connect it to you know, one of my tokens. So at runtime, I have to stop and ask, what token do I have? Give it to the REST call so that it can actually be authenticated. But the problem is that, like I say, the token expires rather quickly. So I've resorted to creating a job that runs every 50 minutes to turn around and to ask for a new token, which was its own chore to sort through to overcome this. So I can then have a new token now in place so that by the time the next run happens, I'll have a separate flow that will then look through all the tokens and take the last one, because that one should going, you know, last one by date. So that one should be the one that has the largest runtime ahead of it. And then say, no, use this one now when you make that call.
So you're, and this, again, limited knowledge of OAuth. Can you not just refresh the existing token and keep using it?
Well, that, you see, this is the problem, is that you can define a provider.
Yep.
Then once the provider is created, you can go to the token area and ask for a token, and it will give you one. But after that, expiration is all on you. You will have to come back to this panel right here and manually take care of that expiration. I can't, it won't do it for me in any automated way. I had to build my own job that had to hack through what's available, say, in internal services and whatnot, to finally get together some way of building a new token by way of flow. Because, you know, there's no way I can have an operator sit in front of this and ask for a new token, you know, every hour. And even then, at runtime, when I try to call the REST service, I have to pick the token that is now my fresh token.
Right.
So it's sort of like, I kind of wish that one thing OAuth could do for me is also engage in the look for, you're going to expire. Do you want me to auto renew for you? As opposed to all the workaround work that I did.
Yeah, you basically built an auto like refresh, replace process that should like innately be kind of part of the OAuth setup, right?
Exactly.
As part of your OAuth settings, and I'm local, so I can't do too much of this. But part of your OAuth settings, you should be able to say, you know, auto token refresh every X, you know, minutes or whatever.
And something of that sort. And I have not, you know, it's like here's where it comes. You can ask for a token, you'll get one. But then like I say, it's good for the hour, then you're out of luck. You have to get, that's why I say I had to basically build my own refresh system and then my own selector to make sure I use the current one.
That sucks.
Yeah. So that's more
Uh,
important to me than the whole role nonsense that my
Yeah.
architect brings up.
Totally. We have some OAuth refresh work. This is the official, unofficial roadmap. When did it get moved out to? Oh, this is the old version. Okay. Yeah, this is the old one. Okay. Anyway, we're completely reevaluating. It's supposed to be Q2 of this year. It's been pushed to Q3 of this year, but we're reevaluating how we do OAuth 2 specifically, tied to how we do some of the single sign-on stuff. But I know part of that effort is reimagining it from the ground up. And so an issue like this is something I can bring up in that conversation and say, hey, we have a customer who absolutely needs, auto token refresh capabilities like normal OAuth providers.
Yeah, this is, and one of the things that so I spent basically a month building my own, trying to hack through the system to build my own refresh system and provisioning system. The hazard that I see ahead of me is that there's another architect guy who I'll call him the junior architect. The good news is I think his influence is limited, but he's talking up the idea that every service ought to have its own token. So it's sort of like that would mean then for every API I call, I need to define its own provider, which then means I have another. Then I have another token to maintain, and that will suck.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah.
All right. I don't like that for you, and I don't even have to do it. So let me again. I'm already going to follow up on the role thing. Let me follow up with you again on this one. I think what probably will be best is if we set up a call between me, you, whoever else on your team wants to join, and a couple guys on my team, and let's hash out some of these questions, and then I can get it as part of the roadmap officially.
Okay.
So if you're game for it, let me reach out probably tomorrow because most of the guys I need to talk to are in India, so that's well past their time. So I'll know more tomorrow morning. But let's if you're up, let's do that, and then we can try to solve these problems a little bit faster for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. Yeah, you bet. That's just a general invite to anyone else on the call too, since I do most of the product roadmap feature request type stuff. If you have anything like that is, hey, this is going to drastically impact the way we build and design and decisions, that's what I care about. So I'm happy to set up calls and look through some of this stuff. So Chris, sir, I'll reach out tomorrow.
Great.
You bet. Cool. I know we only got like 5 or 6 minutes here. I do see a raised hand, and apologies if I butchered the name, but Aishwarya, if you I saw your hand raised, if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, you spelled my name right.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, so I have some queries on reports. I'll start with my first one. So I am displaying a report on a page. Okay. And so the first row that we are displaying is often displayed as a link. Okay. But then we are not really doing anything with that link, but we show it as a link. So is there any way that we can show it as a column and not as a link, the first column?
Yeah, so let's create a report here. I don't know if I have any report sources that have links in them. Okay, we can just take the account. We can go set a link. Okay, so let me make sure I understand. Let's just create this here. Created by. So you like one of these fields, right? One of these ADIS fields is a link, like a URL.
Yeah.
And so you want to represent it as a link, or you want to represent it as text?
I want to represent it as a text.
Okay, so, but it's showing up as a link instead.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can recreate this very quickly. If I have my account and I set one of my fields to be a link, like first name. Cool. Back to my reports and then first name. Okay, first name.
I'm using version 6, just so you know.
Yeah, I do some of the differences too. So like I have first name. First name is a link. So when you run your report, it shows up as a link here. And you don't want it to. You just want it to be the text google.com.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing you can try, and again, I'm limited on time, unfortunately, but if you open up your fields and go to calculated columns, you can actually do a text merge here. So you can say, which one do we want? Merge text inline field. What this will give you is kind of that same edit experience that you had before, where you can like take something and make it a link. You can make it a hyperlink here. And have that displayed on the column, or in your case, you might be able to just take just the text value and it won't show it as a link. The other potential thing too is it looks like maybe it's fixed on a newer version because I'm on a newer version. I'll test this after the call. What version are you on? You said 6. Do you know what version of 6?
6.09.
6.09. Okay, let me go test. I can actually grab a server with that version on it and test after the call and see if I can get that fixed for you really quickly. So I will go take a look and see what I can do there and follow up with you.
All right. And my second question is that is there any way that we can edit the SQL over here for displaying the rows, or
do you want to actually change it here to update the report?
Yeah, I want to add something like a union or something, and then I would want to show it that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. This is just a it's not, you can't change the SQL. This is just kind of a visual representation. You could, and you may already know this, but you could actually create your own SQL statement outside of the report. So if I come here and go to database integration and say add query, you can write whatever SQL query you want here. And as long as it returns data, it will show up as a report source. So if I say this is, fetch accounts, oh, can't have spaces. And I say select star from ND account. Perfect. I run the query. I get back some rows, but you could do whatever union joins, whatever you want to do here. And then when I go to create a new report, that should show up as a report source. So if I find it here, here's my fetch account source. This is just my query, the type that got generated from that query. So that's an option, but no, unfortunately, you can't use this to edit. There's actually my SQL statement. You can't use this to edit what statement is run there.
Okay. What did we do here to get that SQL statement?
Yeah. So I in a normal designer folder, I clicked create data types / integration, and under database integration on the left-hand side, I went to add query. And again, the window might be different for version 6, but you should still see somewhere where you can add a database query. And then it's just, this is a query generation. You pick what database you're connecting to. In my case, the local one, or if you have another integration, you can do that. And then you can write your query here and it will generate the steps for you.
Okay.
And I'll send you the documentation on that for sure.
All right. Okay. That's all I have. And is there, the last question is there any way that I can add a dummy row with some static text on it as an additional column?
Yeah, totally. So the same way, if you click add to your data fields and go to calculated columns, you can add your own. I used a merge text inline field. But what that does is now if I just say, hello, and say save, that's going to show up as a kind of a dummy field. Now they're all going to be the same because I had to do it here, but you actually can combine like data that you know about. So I can combine like hello email address, and then I'll see that dynamically change for each row. So yeah, you can do that way. If you do it, it's a calculated column.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Eric. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I know we're a couple minutes past, so thank you everyone for joining. I have a few people I'm going to follow up with as soon as this call's over. So look for my emails, and including yourself, and we'll go from there. But thanks for attending our Lunch and Learn.
Thank you.
So take care. Have a good day.